This is Barry in the old 74 garage, and we've had some cold weather here in the Northeast. I've got a BMW here with a cold start problem that displays as a reduced power warning when you start the car. After driving it for a while in reduced power mode, it did throw two codes, which leads me to believe that we have a problem with one or both of the Vanous solenoids in bank 1. So let's take a look. This is a 2011 BMW X5. Has the X-Drive system and is a 50i. Diagnostics was performed with this Foxwell analyzer and returned codes P054B and P05CE. Cold start B, camshaft position over retarded bank 1. This is a likely condition caused by an issue with the Vanous system, and a good place to start is with the Vanous solenoids. This video will primarily cover the cleaning and reconditioning of the Vanous solenoids. There are a lot of good videos online that show you how to disassemble your BMW, but I'll be covering the Vanous solenoids in particular and reassembly of the intercooler secondarily. So let's get started. As you can see, I have removed the Vanous solenoids from their locations on cylinder bank 1. I've moved them to the bench, and let's head to the bench to take a look at what the probable issue is and why we have an over-retarded condition during cold startup. Prior to making this video, I did a little investigation and found that one of the two solenoids was stuck. I cleaned the first solenoid and developed a procedure for cleaning it in the process. And I want to share this with you. And this is the stuck solenoid. In order to cycle the solenoid and clean the crud out of it, I've grabbed this little piece off the shelf. It is a 10-function, so-called multi-function relay. And I'm going to be using it in position F, which is a repeat cycle. I want to apply and remove power to the solenoid so that as I'm cleaning it, the plunger can pull back and forth. And then after I'm finished cleaning it, I can immerse it in a bath of oil and exercise it for a period of time before going through the pains of reinstalling it in the car. So let's get the setup done. Multifunction relay, and I will provide information at the end of the video as to what these parts are. This just so happens to be a Grainger part number 1EJEB. These multifunction relays are available online from many different manufacturers. They all more or less do the same thing, provide you time delays and one-shots and repeat cycles, and they're really a useful, inexpensive bench tool that you can pick up, if not from a major industrial supplier, on eBay for generally substantially under $100. So let me put this on the rail over here, lock it in. Plug it in. And next thing, set it to position F. Well, position F's down here. And just set a nominal time on it. When I apply power from the power supply, and of course you can use a car battery. I'm using a bench supply over here because it's current limited. I can't damage even by shorting out the leads, the components I'm working on, or the wires. Car battery's fine if you're careful, and also a small power supply like this is also useful. It's current limited. You can't damage anything even if you're clumsy, and that's a good thing to have, is something that is basically it's basically fail resistance. So the way this works is when power is applied to this device, it turns on and off. That means you don't have to. And if you're going to determine that this thing can work over a period of time, you want to clean it first, and then you want to cycle it and then see if it works after that. Let me make up a cable and we'll come back to this. I have my cable over here, and it has some miniature automotive connectors on one end. Get it at the auto supply store. That allow the Vanous solenoid to be connected to the cable. And the other end of this, I'm going to put to my test rig. You don't need all this fancy stuff to connect one of these relays. I just happen to have a lot of accessories here for various kinds of work that, you know, benefit from having a bench rig that can be used over and over again. So I'm going to plug this in here, and I'm going to grab some carbon choke cleaner, start this thing cycling, and see what comes out of it. Now, I've done a little bit of work on this prior when I determined that the plunger was stuck. So my suspicions are, oh, there we go. There's more of it. It's endless. That's what we want to see, is the crud coming out of here. And trust me, when I got this onto the bench, this did not move. I can feel the plunger making nice strokes. Next thing is I'm going to submerge the solenoid in some motor oil. Got the BMW oil here, and I'm going to allow that to function under a bath of oil as I go about and do some other things. I'm going to slow the timing down. So that it operates infrequently. If it were to hang up, we'll determine that when we come back. While the Vanous solenoid is being exercised in a bath of oil, let's head down to this end of the workbench where the intercooler is sitting. If you're like me, you had some difficulty removing the lower attachment bolt for the intercooler. What I'm going to propose is that reinstallation of the intercooler use a different fastening system. So let's head back to the car. It is likely that the bolt that secured the lower mounting position of the intercooler was a 6mm bolt like this. I'm going to propose that we reinstall the intercooler using a stud. On the other hand, a 6mm stud and nut will provide a rail onto which the intercooler can slide, and the nut will be easily located because the stud can be felt either by hand or through the insertion of a tool, the stud acting as a pilot. As you can see, I've inserted a 6mm stud in place of the bolt. It should make installation of the intercooler much easier. So now that we've got this done, let's head back to the bench and see how our Vanous solenoid is doing. Okay. Time to take our solenoid out of its bath of oil. Oh, and that's a solid sounding clunk as it exercises. A big difference from the beginning when all we had was the feeling that the coil was energizing, but the plunger wasn't moving. I think it's time now to gather up both solenoids and begin the reinstallation. At the end of this video, because I'm not going to bore you with installation procedures which are covered elsewhere online by others who have created great videos, I'm going to comment on whether this actually did work, and you can determine for yourself whether this was a worthwhile adventure into Vanous solenoid cleaning and reconditioning. Hope you found this useful. Goodbye for now. This is the postscript to the video. As you can tell, the BMW is running now. Vanous solenoids are installed and things appear to be fine. Upon restarting the car, the reduced power warning message had disappeared from the dash. My Foxwell diagnostic tool was allowed to reset the check engine light and the codes, so things seem normal. All that's left to do is take this on a test drive, produce multiple starts, and determine whether this is an enduring fix. Be back soon. Okay, the problem is fixed and it has stayed fixed. Let's close out this postscript with a quick review of what went on. Initially, a reduced power warning message was displayed on the dash. There was no check engine light and no codes. It was definitely a drivability problem though. So upon driving the car for a distance, codes finally came in along with the check engine light. The codes were P054B and P054CE. Cold start B, camshaft position over retarded bank 1. Bank 1's to the left side. Since these codes did not relate to the camshaft position sensors, which had codes of their own, it was reasoned that the Vanous solenoids were at fault here. I removed both Vanous solenoids from bank 1 and discovered that one of the solenoids was stuck. I cleaned the solenoid, lubricated the solenoid, and placed it in a bath of oil where I exercised it hundreds of times. Having survived the exercise and it's still working, I put it back into the car along with the other solenoid, and here we are. The problem's fixed, and the car operates normally after hours and many stops of service. So that's about it. So this is Barry from Old 74 Garage saying thank you for watching and good night.